RDP of nature has been delivered with the, I guess, how many hours was that? I guess 48 hours. That was like 2 days. That's what they used to print a house. Imagine that. So it's quite, and you deliver this house, with enormous control in terms of you're not gonna have much waste. You're not gonna have, costs are highly controlled and all that. So it's the way forward. So increase of off-site manufacturing, fabrication of construction component, installation of the home on 90% of the, I guess we have watched the video. I don't need to play it again today. So the possibility of replicating the same house structure to different sites through installation and assemblage will help us to overcome these challenges we're facing. Okay. So these are some of the factors, influencing project failure, because we're focusing today what causes our project to fail in our community in terms of infrastructure. So these are based on the, identify, aspect of factors influencing construction project failure in our community based on literature review. So they talk about fragmentation of construction project process. They talk about, poor users' input or vague requirements, which focus mainly from end users or the client or the owner. They talk about poor project design and leadership. They talk about design and construction problem. They talk about uncoordinated, built environment professional skills. They talk about poor health and safety, implementation. And they talk about unrealistic time scales and cost estimation. They talk about poor selection of building procurement method. So all these and more are some of the factors that actually, causes project failure within our community infrastructure development. And more especially, we're going to be focusing more today on what they call failure to plan and lack of pre-project planning. When you talk about pre-project planning, we're talking about, feasibility studies. Feasibility studies kind of give you, overview picture, bigger picture, whether a project can actually succeed or not. So if this is being employed and the reports generated from feasibility studies are being adequately implemented in the course of construction of that infrastructure, it will help to deliver the project successfully. But again, if there was a lack or poor or inadequate feasibility study during the implementation, the project will still experience challenges, setbacks that will attribute to element of failure in that given project. Okay, let's look at it. I'm gonna rush through this. I'm gonna rush through it. So let's look at the fragmentation of construction process. So South African construction process, like the rest of the world, is severely fragmented, and there appear to be several barriers to development, particularly that of the party tending to rigidly defend their own position. And we have explained this, partially in the previous slide. So everybody focus on their own specialty, on their own, job position to perform their own work. They wouldn't necessarily, pinpoint any kind of challenge, any kind of error or omission to other part of the team, unless you're a project manager who want to go around supervise your work. You can easily pinpoint some of the mistake. But someone, like I have said, if you're a plumber, you're not going to start pointing to structural engineer where there's a mistake. But again, structural engineer can as well point to the plumber where there's a mistake. So there is a kind of element of power dynamics here. But heuristically, some of the professionals, they just focus on performing their duty without interfering with other aspects. of the job, even when they see something is not going right. So today's project or built environment development are complex. All of us can attest to that than those of the previous time in terms of the structure, technology, uh, intelligence, resources, demand, and the finance as well, organizational setting. So these are one of the things that even make some of the construction process to be highly fragmented. Notwithstanding, most part project professionals are inclined towards maintaining existing structure and promoting individual enterprise. So everybody keep on focusing on themselves, trying to better their own project. So the project team and individuals are neither not aware of or have chosen to ignore any systemic nature of construction development project. So we can see project in itself is systematic in nature, but occasionally the project teams or individuals tend to not to be consciously aware of this. So they tend to focus mainly on their duty, mainly on their functionality, on their position. Once they do their part, once they strive to do their best, and after that, they don't really matter whether other person's making mistake. So the property or construction development require a combination of specialists traditionally organized in distinct occupational groups. So this is the genesis at the beginning, which was good. But again, this is a time to progress. So you talk about division of labor, have various sections, it helps you to coordinate. But again, mentally, this group have focused on solely on their own aspect of the project. They're looking at heuristically. But again, things can change, in the future. But these are elements of fragmentation. So they're trying to focus mainly on the function rather than the process. So if you focus on the process, you will understand, the project team will understand, the bigger picture concept of construction process. So the project success, for project success, these professionals should not act in isolation, but to work within a well-defined and closely knitted network, which I called integration and collaboration of a systematic approach. This is what we can adopt in order to look at the bigger picture in terms of the, bridging the gap of fragmentation when we talk about, construction process and delivering of infrastructure in our community. So these sort the procurement methods that are systemic in nature, as an open system emphasizes the interdependency between the organization and its environment. These are very important to bridge the bridge of fragmentation. The value of adopting an open system perspective is that it provides an understanding of why projects face risk and uncertainty within their business environment and provide a vehicle for understanding organizational responses to the risk and uncertainty. So once you have that open system, which BEAM is all about, everybody can actually be in the same frequency. Everybody can be in the same wavelength, understanding the risk that involved in a project, understanding the uncertainty that involved, if there's any, involved in a project. And this will help the team to have that, bigger picture concept in terms of striving. Everybody's striving, in a coordinated and integrated way to solve a common problem. So again, what I call poor users' input or vague requirement, and this may emanate from the stakeholders conflict, promotion of vested interests, communication breakdown, inadequate client or owner involvement may actually lead to project failure. And we have seen this. Eskom Medupi Power Project is a classic example, which we're going to highlight. In my understanding, there's element of poor users' input because Eskom, perhaps they have consulted with consultants who may have carried out the design package, or maybe they have in-house in-house design team who, develop the concept of Medupi Power project. But again, from the history of the project, we have seen there's a poor users input, in the sense there's a drastic terminus change of, there's a kind of drastic change in terms of design capacity, within a fraction of time. And when that happened, it triggers something that there was no concerted effort to look at the project design in a holistic manner. You can see there's a kind of a rush approach in that design project. So, and this may as well, as a result of invested interest, as a result of inadequate, what I call inadequate pre-project planning, because that will give rise to, poor users' input or vague requirement in terms of design capacity of what they actually want. So this can trigger project failure. For example, there's a belief that many in the built environment hold their profession, that their profession is their expert, and even the owner, which is the client, should not question or make a judgment. So these are very common, among us, the built environment. We can be telling clients, no, he can't. I've been doing this job for how many years? I went to school for this job and all that. He can't dictate for me, But again, one have to be humble. If you find yourself in a built environment, just be open-minded. Welcome the idea and analyze those ideas. Some of them may have a vital, important, value to improve your work. Like myself, when I was working in the industry, back home, I listened to everyone, and occasionally even the people that I thought they didn't go to school, but